welcome to a new episode of the Bobbles Berries Podcast. Another episode, 2 episodes in 2 weeks. That never really happens. My name is Aude, and I'm coming to you from Edinburgh in Scotland, where I live with my husband Kyle and our 3 cats. And this is another special episode, just like the last one I released. Last episode I talked about all that I've been knitting on, all the projects that I knit basically in 2022, and today I would like to share my plans for 2023. So yeah, if you are a new viewer and new subscribers, then welcome. It's really lovely to have you here. There's been quite a few new subscribers since last episode, and it's really lovely to have you. I hope you'll enjoy this episode as well. And then if you are a returning viewer, then welcome back. It's so lovely to have you here. Some of you have been subscribers from the start and always leave me nice little comments and everything, and I'm very grateful for that. It's lovely to have you. So like I said, today I'm recording a bit of a special episode, something different from my usual podcast episode, where I would like to share my knitting plans for 2023. I posted about that on Instagram, did a little poll, see if that's something that you would be interested in, and a lot of you said yes. And when I mentioned it in my last episode, a lot of you were also looking forward to that. So here we are. How have I done that? So basically the idea of doing this episode came about when the other day, like I mentioned before, I was sort of looking through my stash and trying to figure out how I wanted to use my yarn. So sort of going around and trying to assign a project per yarn that I have. And so I went around and put little labels, little tags that I tied around my yarn, which is the name of the pattern that I would like to knit out of that yarn, sometimes the designer, and then if there's like already little notes that I want to remember when I start working on that, I just wrote it on there. And yeah, this is what I'm going to share with you today. So just to be clear and transparent, I don't have a project assigned for every single bit of yarn that I have in my stash. I still have quite a few skeins that I don't know yet what I'm going to do with, and it's fine. And then the plans that I currently have for the yarn that I have may change. I'm not holding myself to making that specific project with that specific yarn because this is what I feel like I want to use it for right now. If by the time I get around to using this yarn, I've changed my mind and want to knit something else, or if by the time I come around to knitting a pattern and I want to use some of the yarn, then obviously that's absolutely fine. It's not, it doesn't have to be that rigid. To me, it's just, it felt good because it felt that I had a plan for a lot of the yarn that I have in my stash, and that just made me feel good and not too maybe overwhelmed maybe by having a lot of yarn that I didn't know what to do with. And I'm hoping that it also maybe mean that I don't buy too much yarn in 2023. I'm not doing the yarn buying ban thing because I don't think that's going to work for me. And I don't know, it's just a restriction that I don't want to put on myself. But at the same time, at the moment, I'm pretty content with the stash that I have and the projects that I want to knit, and I don't really feel the need to buy new yarn. I have a couple of trips coming up next year where I know I will probably buy some yarn in the summer or like late spring. My husband and I are planning to go to Canada. My husband is Canadian, so we'll be going to visit his family. We haven't been in quite a long time. We haven't seen them since before COVID. So we will visit them for a little bit, and we'll be in the Toronto area. So I will look at, I'm sure I'll go to yarn shops then, and I would like to get Canadian yarns. And then we are also planning to go to Shetland at the end of September. It's going to be a vacation / honeymoon for us because we got married just before COVID, and didn't have the chance to go on a honeymoon just yet. And the time when we'll be going to Shetland is also when, or like part of that time at least, is when Shetland Wool Week is on, which is a yarn fest, wool fest in Shetland. So I'm sure I'll buy some yarn then, and that's absolutely fine. But what I'm saying is that right now, just labeling my yarn and thinking about projects that I want to do means that I'm quite happy with where I'm at. I'm excited about the yarn that I have. I'm excited about the project that I would like to knit. So that's good. And if I change my mind as time goes on, I change my mind, and that's also just fine. No pressure. Knitting is a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. I don't want to put pressure on myself about those kinds of things. That being said, I'm going to jump right into the actual projects. I will divide them into categories like I did in my previous episodes. I will have 2 categories this time. One is garment, one is accessories. I don't have concrete plans to knit socks. This does not mean that I'm not going to knit any socks in 2023. I'm sure I will at some point eventually. I also don't really have plans at the moment to knit gifts except for just one thing. Again, that's probably going to change, and a lot of the time when I knit gifts I need socks. So yeah, I'll see. I'm sure I'll make socks. I have let me see, I have about 10 to 12 skeins of sock yarns that I want to keep for me and that I want to make socks out of for me. And so I'm sure, I don't know, I'll use them maybe this year. I don't know when, but yeah, I don't have any specific sock project in mind, even though I know that I'm probably going to knit socks sometime this year. So I'm not going to talk about socks in that episode. That's what I'm trying to say. So it will be garments and accessories. I think I have all the yarn right here on my armchair, which feels a bit too small for all the yarn that I have right now. But I think I have maybe about 15 projects right now. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about each one at length because other than the pattern and the yarn, that's kind of all I have so far. But yeah, so this hopefully won't take too long and won't feel too lengthy and boring. So yeah, let's get started. I will start with the garments. I'm picking them in no particular order. Like I said, I have a pile of yarn, so I'm just going to grab from the top so everything doesn't fall on the floor. That's kind of the idea. So let's start with the first garment that I would like to make. I don't see myself making this one until the autumn probably. And it is the Copenhagen cardigan by Petite Knit. I've seen it before, I've seen the pattern before on Ravelry, but lately I saw Inge of Knitting Traditions. She made one out of some green, Loden green woolly knit yarn and some mohair, and I thought it was really, really beautiful. I really liked the version that she made, and I do like to wear just like a simple white shirt or t-shirt with jeans, and so I feel like a nice cardigan could go really well with that. Like a nice, it's kind of a basic pattern, but I think it's really lovely. It has little pockets, and so I plan to knit this out of woolly knit as well, a cone. Let me take the little band off because it doesn't really do anything. I'm gonna use this cone by Woolly Knit, and this is their 100% British wool in the shade cinnamon brown, 1012. I don't know if 1012 is like a shade number or maybe a batch number, I'm not really sure. So yeah, it's 500 grams. It is kind of a light fingering. Woolly knit cones are usually light fingering. I believe the pattern, like most of Petite Knit's pattern, are knit in DK. So I don't know just yet if I'm gonna hold this double or if I will hold this like double together, or if I will hold this double with a strand of fluffy yarn, most likely suri or like alpaca silk, not mohair, because I find mohair a bit itchy. I didn't know. I found out recently that Drops has a alpaca silk yarn. I didn't really know. I only heard people talk about the Drops Kit silk. But I found out that they do have, I don't remember, I think it's just called alpaca silk actually. And I might use that because that is soft enough for me. I just need to have a look at the colors that they have and see if I can find one that matches this yarn or that's close enough. So yeah, so something to look into. Like I said, I don't really see myself knitting on this until late summer, maybe September, late August, September. So I will look into the other yarn then if at this time I still feel like making that. But I'll show you the yarn once again. It is one of my favorite colors from Wool Knit. I think a lot of people really like it as well. It's got lovely warmth and depth. And yeah, that is going to be a Copenhagen cardigan by Petite Knit. And this, like I said, this is the old cards that I made. I can show you. And then I wrote like held double or with mohair alpaca. And yeah, I just have this with my yarn. On the cone, I didn't tie it. I just put it with the cone. I keep all my cone in like little plastic bags because some of them smell quite cheapy, and I think the smell is what attracts moth, and so I just keep them safe in a bag, and so I just put the cone in the tag. So that is the first project that I have. The second is using this yarn. So this is a cone by Iona Wool. If you've seen my last episode or if you've seen previous episode, you know that I really love Iona Wool. It's one of my favorite yarns. And this is a cone of 500 grams of their DK weight. They also do fingering and Aran weight cones. This is DK in their undyed natural color. It's a really, really beautiful gray. And with this, I plan to make the Carbeth cardigan. And I'm actually going to show you the pattern from the book because I have the book. So it comes in this book. It's by Kate Davis. It's the book 10 Years in the Making, but I think it's also available as an individual pattern on Ravelry if you don't want to buy the whole book. I just think the book is beautiful and there's many patterns I like to make. But the Carbeth cardigan is this one. It's really lovely. It's kind of like a raglan, but not really. And I like it a lot. One of my concerns, I'm gonna be honest, one of my concerns with this pattern is that when I looked up the hashtag on Instagram, I found that on a lot of people, the collar was kind of floppy. It was just like not falling, or like not sitting right on the shoulder, or not right, but in the way that I would like it to sit. And I was a bit concerned that it was kind of going to look a way that I don't really want it to look. But then I looked up at the Ravelry pages for the project for people who've knit that cardigan and put it up on Ravelry. And I realized that it has to do with the yarn really, because some of the projects that looked a bit kind of like loose and maybe more drapey, I think that's probably the right word, more drapey, were knit out of merino and yarns like this. And then some of the projects that I personally really liked where it sort of held its shape, the collar stood up right and everything, were knit out of more rustic yarn like Jameson and Smith. And so I am pretty confident because my yarn from Iona Wool is quite rustic, it's really rustic yarn. I am pretty confident that it's gonna give me the end result that I want. And then, so yeah, the thing is that I got in my head really and being like, well, but if it doesn't work, and I've used this yarn, it's so special yarn. And honestly, I just had to get out of my head for a second because yes, it is special yarn to me, but it's also not rare yarn. So if I want more Iona wool, I can buy more. They sell it on their website. And then I knit it, and if it doesn't work and if I don't like it, I can rip it back. It's fine, and just knit something else. It's just fine. I had to chill, that's all. I just had to chill. The pattern is, so it calls for Kate Davis's own DK yarn, which is good because mine is DK, the meterage is about the same. And it says to hold it double and knit it on like 6 or 6.5 or something like that to get gauge. So I have a feeling that it's going to knit pretty quickly, which also sort of tells me that like I'm not going to spend weeks and weeks and weeks on that. So if it doesn't work exactly how I want it, that's also fine. I rip it out. It's not like I wasted time, but I didn't spend so much time for something that didn't work out in the end. So it's okay. And yeah, I think that's all I had to say. Oh, the reason I picked this pattern too for this yarn is because I wanted a simple, sort of basic yet a bit interesting gray cardigan that I could wear over dresses. If you're new here, I sew a lot of my own clothes, including dresses, and I like to pick for dresses nice colorful fabrics. And so I wanted to have a gray cardigan that would go with all of them and yeah, just fit nicely with my dresses, but still have the dress and the fabric sort of be the star of the outfit, if that makes sense. So I wanted something fairly plain in a good way, like a fairly plain gray cardigan. And so this pattern works really well for me because it has an interesting construction, but other than that, it's just stockinette. And I think it's going to work even better with this specific yarn that I have because Iona wool just blogs out so beautifully. I still have a bit of an issue when I knit and purl, where my purling tension is not the same as my knitting tension, and so it kind of shows, like it rows out, it makes lines when I knit back and forth, which I'm sure will get better as I practice. But yeah, I also am very confident that if I use this yarn, even if there's a bit of unevenness, I guess you say, what I knit is just going to block out and it's going to be fine. So yes, this is my plan. All right, I said that I was going to spend too long on each pattern, but honestly, like, I think we're not going that direction. So let's move on to the next one. I will link all the patterns and all the yarn that I talk about in the description box below. So if you have any questions or don't remember something or are unsure about something, you can look there. And then I've got fluff in my mouth. And then if you don't find the answer there, then of course message me, leave a comment, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. All right, moving on. Next, next garment that I plan to make is the Javelin Pullover by Tete Lutzak. I'll put a picture here when I don't have the actual pattern to show you. It's one that is already in my library. In addition to trying to use my own yarn or my stash this year, I would like to also, whenever possible, use patterns that I already have. So patterns I have either in my Ravelry library or that I have in books that you can see here. I have lots of books. So just use stuff that I have. So the next one, like I said, is the Javelin Pullover by Tete Lutzak, a beautiful pattern, and I want to make it out of this yarn. I'm going to show you the color. It is not, I'm going to say that in real life it is not as yellow as it shows on my screen right now. It is a bit more of a tarnished gold, if you will. And this is woolly knit wool again. It's the same wool as the rust cone that I showed first. It's just in a hang because when I bought it they didn't have it on the cone anymore, but they had it in hang. So but it's the same yarn. It's 100% British wool. It's a fingering weight, and this is the colorway Harvest, and it is beautiful. And so I will knit this pullover with that. It calls for a DK, I believe. I will use this held double. If you watch my previous video, I already did a sweater by Tetelutsak. It was called the Cinnamon Mum, and I did it in woolly knit Loden green, so same yarn, just different color. And for that, I held it double and I got gauged just fine, so I'm sure it will be fine using this. So the Javelin sweater by Tetelutsak in woolly knit Harvest. All right, next one. Next one is another pullover, and it is the Guilloche pullover by Albiona McLaughlin. So I've talked about this one before because I bought the yarn when I went to Ireland last year, and I shared that yarn in one of my podcasts, but I'll share it again. And I'm gonna knit it. It's such a nice sweater. I love it. I'll have put a picture so you've seen it, but it's so beautiful. I love it. And this is the yarn that I plan to use. And this yarn is by Studio Donegal, Soft Donegal, and it is like a DK Aran weight kind of yarn, which is what the pattern calls for. I think the pattern was actually maybe knit in that, or one of the samples was knit in that yarn. And it is 100% merino, but not superwash, so that kind of nice dry merino. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think currently I'm finishing up my advent calendar project, and then after that I think I will knit maybe the grey cardigan, the Kate Davis cardigan that I was just talking about, and then probably I will knit that. I don't know, I'll just see how I feel whenever I need to start another project. But yeah, it's blowing out a little bit, but the room is quite dark because it's quite dark outside. So yeah, it's really lovely yarn. It's a bit darker, like everything that I show you is a bit darker in real life than it shows on the screen, but yeah, it's like grey and it's got little neps of rust and beige, and it's amazing. It's really soft too. I would very much recommend this yarn. I bought 6 skeins when I went to Dublin last year. I bought it at This Is Knit, the Dublin yarn shop, and which is what the pattern recommends. I'm not sure I'm going to use all 6 skeins because usually I use less than patterns call for, but because it's such soft, beautiful yarn, not itchy at all, if I have leftover, I'll make myself a hat or a cowl or something, and that will be just fine. So that is the 4th garment that I plan to make at some point this year. The Guilloche pullover by Albiona McLaughlin. All right, moving on. What am I going to do? Another Albiona jumper that I would like to make because I love her patterns is the Braids of Grass. Is that called Braids of Grass? Yeah, Braids of Grass, and it's a beautiful jumper that has a bit of a, like not a turtleneck, but like a high neck, and it has cables going down the yoke and up into the collar, and yeah, it's really beautiful. I already know that I'm gonna make a couple modification at the wrist, the cuffs, and the hem, because on her pattern is sort of like the cabling at the top is like at the bottom as well, with just a simple bind off, I guess, and it makes it looks on the picture anyway that it sort of rolls a bit, and I think I'd like to just do a 2x2 rib or something. I've seen people do that, do a rib instead of the cable, and it looks really nice, so I might do that. And yeah, I'm gonna make it out of this yarn. This is a massive cone of yarn. I'm have way more than I need, and I'll use it for other things, but yeah. It is a lovely cone of yarn from a company called Laine Paysanne. They're French. They're, I think, located up in the mountains in between France and Spain, so the southwest of France. And it is a blend of 25% merino and 75% Rouge du Roussillon, which is a sheep that, a breed of sheep from over there that is kind of like a terracotta kind of color, their wool. So it's like a nice warm beige that I like a lot. And the one that I have is like this one is fingering to support weight. I don't know if, oh, let me see. And yeah, and a lot of Albiona's patterns usually call for DK to Aaron, depending on if you want something that's more drapey or something that is more structured. I think in that case, in the instance of this sweater, I would like something that is maybe a bit more structured, so the neck, the collar stays upright nicely. So I will see. I think I can probably get gauged by holding this double. So I'm gonna try that. And if that doesn't work, then maybe I'll get like a alpaca silk fluff yarn to hold it with. I'm just a bit concerned that if I have it with some alpaca silk or mohair or something, a fluffy yarn, then it's gonna, the cables are not gonna be as defined. So yeah, I will see. I don't know. I don't really know when I'm gonna make this either, maybe in the spring or I don't know. But yeah, that is the Braids of Grass by Albiona McLaughlin. I think it's one of her most popular pattern. I think many people have made it, and it's really lovely and it looks great in all kinds of different yarns. So I would highly recommend it. Next up, I've got 2 garments left, and then we can move on to accessories. The next one is again from a cone of yarn. Can you tell that I like cones? I think they're just beautiful and a really great price for value, and yeah, I like to knit from cones. And this is another Kate Davis pattern. So my husband gave me this book for Christmas. I'd asked for it because I really love this pattern, the one that's on the cover. I think it's just stunning. Let me see if I can find other pictures. Yeah, maybe you can see here. It's really beautiful. I love a lot of the patterns in that book, and I think I'm gonna make a lot of them, but what really caught my eye and made me buy the book as opposed to I guess not as opposed, I really love this pattern. This is why I bought the book, because there's also so many more that I would like to make. And this one is called Circunet. Sorry, I don't know. This is what it's called. And I plan to make it in this yarn from Jamieson and Smith. It actually just got in the mail today, and it's in the post was delivered today, and it's so beautiful. Can you see the depth of color in that? It's insane. I love Jamieson and Smith yarn. It's so beautiful. Actually, it's their yarn. This sweater is in their yarn in the shade, I think it was 1285. And if you can see the depth in color in that as well, it blows my mind. It's so beautiful. And so I got this yarn on a cone, this green yarn. So that is the shade FC12. It is a fingering weight. It's there on the website. It's called jumper weight. And yeah, it's a cone of 500 grams, which the pattern calls for DK. I will hold it double. The size that I want to make only requires 500 grams of DK, so if I have this, that will be just fine. And yeah, it is so stunning. I love it so much. Originally, I saw myself making this cardigan in that gray cone of Iona wool. But then I was thinking, like I said, like I like to wear dresses sometimes. I like to use really nice fabrics, colorful, beautiful fabrics for my dresses. And so if I knit this pattern as the gray cardigan that I would use to wear with dresses, and it's quite an intricate pattern with like twists and cables and things like this, I felt that it would be a bit too much maybe. And also I felt because this pattern was so beautiful and intricate and all of this, that it deserved to be the star of the outfit, if you will. And so I decided in the end to buy another yarn in a beautiful color for this cardigan and make it so that it would be the star of my outfit. I don't know, is that a weird thing? I don't know, that's kind of how I think about what I wear, I guess. So yeah, so I plan to make this cardigan by Kate Davis from her Sark book, but I think it might also be available as a standalone pattern on Ravelry or on her website in this beautiful yarn by Jamieson and Smith. And I think this one I would like to knit maybe, I don't know, early summer or something. I think I would like to have it for when we go to Shetland, and then I'll take this one as well because it feels kind of cool to just wear things made out of Jamieson and Smith yarn when I go to Shetland. Jamieson and Smith, if you don't know, is a wool company based on Shetland, and so yeah, so I think I will knit this maybe over the summer, and I'm really excited because it's really beautiful. And the pattern looks like you have to pay attention to it. It's charted and everything. You have to pay attention, but it's not difficult. It's just not mindless either. So that is the next garment. And then the final garment that I would like to make is not a jumper. It's not a cardigan. It's a bralette. But I didn't know if it would count it as a garment, but I guess I don't really see it counting as an accessory, so I put it in the garment section. It is called the Simple Bralette by Naked Knit, yeah. I will put a picture right here, and I will make it out of this yarn, this beautiful like rust colored yarn that I've had in my stash for a while. This is yarn by Beehive Yarn. This is she is a indie dyer in England. The base is Audrey, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and then the colorway is called Fox Tails. I never thought that I would want to make myself a bralette out of wool. It just didn't feel like, I don't have anything against it, it just didn't really feel like the kind of thing that I would wear. But then I was watching a new to me podcast the other day called Handmade by Florence. She's quite popular, you might know her already, and she'd made this one and I thought it looked really nice actually, and I was like, well, I have this one skein of yarn that I don't really know what I'm gonna make. I originally bought it to make socks, but then I have plenty of other sock yarn, so it's not really a big deal if I don't make socks with that. And I thought I'd give it a try because why not? I think one skein for the size that I would want to make is enough. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a try. I don't know when just yet, but I thought I would give it a try, and then I could see myself wearing this maybe like under a white, maybe like a white oversized shirt, like button shirt or something, and then leave it open a little bit so the knit, my knitted piece shows through or something like that, just to wear in the summer with jeans and white sneakers or something like that. I don't know. I thought I'd give it a try. Again, if I don't like it, if it doesn't work out, if I never wear it, I can frog it and make something else out of the yarn, and that's no big deal. So yeah, that's the plan, the Simple Bralette by Naked Knit in this beautiful rust colored yarn. Moving on. I have to say, I just got a new phone and I'm recording on it now, and I think it's doing a pretty good job. I feel like I'm maybe a bit overexposed, but it's so dark that I think it's actually doing okay. I hope it is. Anyway, moving on. So that was all the garment that I am planning to make in the future, possibly 2023. Maybe I'll make some, maybe I will make others, maybe I'll change my minds on things, but those are my plans at the moment. I'm going to move on to the next category, which is accessories, the next and last. Like I said, I'm not doing socks, And I was looking through my yarn and all the tags that I'd made, and it looks like 2023 is going to be the year of shawls and scarves, because I feel like most of the projects that I plan are shawls or scarves, which is great. I have to say I'm really happy. I have quite a few hats already. I have plenty of socks. I don't really have mittens. I also don't really use mittens that much. But I only have one scarf, a green scarf, a Kate Davis pattern that I love. I wear it all the time, but I kind of want to have more than just this one. I also would like to have some more like neutral colors, so maybe gray or beige, so they would go with everything. So it looks like this is what I'm gonna do this year. So the first one, let me see. All right, the first one, I'm gonna grab this one, is made out of this yarn. I'm gonna show you the color. This is Beautiful Yarn by Zakami Yarn, and this is actually the main 100 gram skein that was in my advent calendar. So I got her advent calendar last Christmas, and this is the main skein that I have. It's 100% Corriedale, 400 meters, fingering weight, non-superwash. The colorway is Wood Rough. I don't think it's a colorway that you can find on her website. I think it was exclusive to the calendar. And what I am planning to make with it is the Sophie Scarf by Petite Knit. Now the Sophie Scarf I think is made for maybe 50 grams of yarn or something like that. I have 100 gram. I think the pattern is also made for DK. This is fingering. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold this double, and then I'm gonna knit according to pattern until I reach like until I have 50 grams left, and then I'll just do, well, what I'm saying is that it's kind of like a triangle. So you start at one end, you increase, and then when you reach the middle part, you decrease until the end. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna just keep increasing in pattern until I've used up 50 grams of yarn, and then I'll decrease. So I'm assuming it's gonna be a bit bigger than her scarf, but it's also not going to be as big as the Sophie shawl, and it'll just be whatever size it is, and that will be a good way for me to use this beautiful yarn, and that will be a small scarf for me to wear around my neck whenever I feel like it. So that is the first scarf project. This yarn is really beautiful. The calendar was amazing. I'm still working on it, but all the colors and everything are just absolutely beautiful. I picked the 100% Corriedale base, and I really, really enjoy knitting with Corriedale. It's a really nice base. Next one is, oh, actually it's one I might ask for your advice on, if you don't mind. So I have these three skeins. This is by the Camel's Yarn. The lovely Hannah, she's based in Cornwall, and then there's the pink. And so I bought these three, I think over a year ago now, with the intention of making the nape shawl by Lettuce Knits. I'm not really sure that's how you pronounce those words, but I'll put it here. This is the intention that I had when I was buying it, and I think I still like it. I'm not entirely sure I have quite enough yarn, because it says to get a bit over 100 grams for some section, but then also on project pages people have used less than a skein to make those sections, so I think it's probably going to be fine. But the thing is that I don't know if I like it as much anymore. So yeah, I like the pattern, I like how it looks. It's just my only tiny issue is that the wingspan seems really, really big, like over 2 meters, and that seems quite big and maybe not the most practical thing to have. Then again, maybe it is. Maybe that's what you need to really be able to nicely wrap it around you and feel warm and cozy. So I don't know. At the moment, this is still the project that I have for this yarn, but if you know of a shawl or scarf pattern that uses 3 colors, not necessarily color work, but that uses 3 colors, then let me know. I might look into this and see if there's something that I like more, and if not, I'll just make this one, because it was one of those times when I actually bought yarn for a specific project, and I feel like I maybe have to just trust my gut and go with that, because that was my original thought. So we'll see. But yeah, the yarn is really beautiful though. It really goes together so well, and I love it. It is it is her 100% superwash merino fingering weight merino single. So yes, 100 gram, but it's 166 meters, not the usual 400 meters of fingering weight, which is why it's making me think that maybe it might be a bit tight on some sections, but I don't know. We'll see. So that's the accessory number 2. All right, next one. Another shawl that I would like to make out of this beautiful beige cream yarn. It has a bit more depth in real life. And this is, sorry, this is yarn by Gullet Farms. I think they're based out of, they're in Devon, I think, somewhere southern England. And each skein is 200 meters per 100 grams, so a nice DK weight. And this is one of those like neutral scarves that I would like to have. Like I told you, I would like to have a neutral gray and then a neutral beige, so they would go with everything. And the project that I want to make with this is called the Autumn Vibes shawl, and it is in the book 52 Weeks of Shawl by Lina magazine. And it is, more specifically, it is this one. Let me just check if there's, I don't know if there's things that, I guess I can put my hand on that just to kind of hide the instruction, because it's a paid for pattern, but this is what it looks like. And you have like the drawing at the top, so it's a big crescent shape shawl. So yeah, let me see if I can show you another picture while hiding the instruction. Ooh. Oh, never mind. And this is, yeah, this is what it looks like. So yeah, I have exactly the amount of yarn that I need for that. The pattern calls for 200 grams of DK, and I have 200 grams of DK. And I think even the yarn used by the designer is a DK that's 200 meter per 100 grams. So which is exactly the one that I have. So that should be just fine. So yeah, the Autumn Vibe shawl from 52 Weeks of Shawl in this beautiful, nice beige yarn by Gullet Farm. Moving on, another scarf that I would like to make is let me see what it's called, the Tail Feather Scarf by Baroque Pearl. I put a picture, it's really lovely. It looks like the feathers of an owl. I guess I say that because there's an owl in the picture, but yeah, it looks amazing. And I want to make it out of this yarn. Oh, you can really see the depth of color here. Can I focus? Yeah, do you see that brown? It's beautiful. I have 2 skeins of that, which I think is enough. I don't remember exactly what the pattern calls for, but it's also one of those patterns that it's like a proper scarf, not a shawl, and so you just stop when you're out of yarn, when you run out of yarn. And this is a yarn by Stranded Dye Works by Jude in their merino DK base in the shade Coffee Bean. It's 100% superwash merino DK. Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's 230 meters per 115 grams. And like I said, I'm just showing you one now. The other one is already, what am I trying to say? It's already caked up, because I started making a hat with this yarn, and then I just frogged it because it wasn't working. But I'm really excited. I remember when Jude put those up for sale, or when he was showing the pictures on either his podcast or Instagram, and I knew that I needed to have that colorway because it's so stunning, and it almost like shines gold a bit in the sun. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, he makes wonderful yarn. I love it. Moving on. The next one is a shawl that I've talked about on my podcast before, and it is the Salt and Timber shawl from this book that I own as well. So I would like to use, like I said, I would like to use some of the patterns that I have, and let me find, sorry if there's like page turning noises or something. Let me find the page. And this is the Salt and Timber shawl. Page 116. And this is what it looks like. I hope you can see. It is a crescent shaped shawl with like some kind of trees, like fir trees. Yeah, you can see it well here. And it is lovely. This is the one pattern that made me buy the book. There's lots of other things that I want to make in this book. It's a really lovely book, but that is the pattern that really caught my eye. And I want to make it out of this beautiful green yarn. It is absolutely stunning yarn. It's incredibly drapey, and it is yarn by the Border Mill. And it is a blend of alpaca and rose fiber. 50% alpaca, 50% rose fiber. It is, I think, a fingering weight-ish. Yeah, a fingering weight yarn. And it is incredibly soft. It is so drapey, and I think it will be perfect for this shawl. And I'm really excited to knit with this. And can you see the sheen or the luster? I don't know how you call it, but oh, it's so nice. It's so nice. I absolutely love that mill and what they do, that shop. And every time I go to, they do quite a lot of yarn festivals in Scotland, at least. I don't know if they do the ones in England as well, but every time they are at a yarn festival that I go to, I get yarn from them because it is so beautiful. So yeah, the Salt and Timber shawl in this stunning yarn. Speaking of the Border Mill, the next project is also in their yarn, even although not in their alpaca rose blend, in their just alpaca. I think it's exclusively an alpaca farm actually. And it is this stunning gray yarn. It is a lot more gray than it shows on the screen, I will say. But yeah, it is absolutely beautiful. It is 210 meters per 100 grams and 100% alpaca. And the color is called Distressed Oatmeal. It is a warm gray. Let me see. Nope. Yeah, maybe like this is when you can see it best. And what I want to make with this is my basic gray scarf. And I am gonna make the Kata warp wrap. I don't know how to pronounce that word, but let me, where did I put the book? Here, give me a second. It is another pattern in that Kate Davis book, and it is this beautiful wrap. So, this pattern calls for a yarn that has a similar weight. She says to use her kind of DK, so 220 meters per 100 gram. Mine is 210, so we can say the yarn is probably the same thickness. It does say it needs 500 grams. I've only got 300. But also, this is a wrap in that it is quite wide. It is finished object after blocking is 178 centimeters or 70 inches long by 70 centimeters or 18 and a half inches wide. For me, both the length and the width are a bit too much based on like the kind of scarf that I would like, and I compare to the one that I have with like the size that it has, which works great for me. And so the scarf that I have right now that I wear all the time is about 35 centimeter wide, and I think it's 150 long, and that works great for me. So what I think I'm going to do, because I don't have the amount of yarn required to make the full wrap, and I don't want the full wrap anyway, is that I'm going to knit with what I have. I'm going to make it narrower by here. There's a few repeats. I'll just make less repeats, so it will be narrower, and then I will knit until I run out of yarn, and that will make me a beautiful scarf. So yes, that is the plan. Scarf patterns are so easy to alter to whatever size you want. So this is what I am going to make with this beautiful alpaca yarn from the Border Mill. Again, look at the drape. It just doesn't hold. It just flops. It's beautiful. It's really soft. So yes, we are nearing the end, my friends. I have 4 things that I would like to show you still, and I think we're mostly done with the scarves and wraps and shawl. I have one last shawl that is also, well, I'm also going to use the yarn for a hat, so I'll make a set kind of, and I will show it to you right now. And it is this beautiful yarn. Again, it's blowing up a bit. Oh no, I guess actually you can see quite well, or maybe, yeah, I guess you can see quite well. It's more gray than it looks, but like a really warm gray. And this is Durum Natura Gilead in the shade Bouleau, which is birch in French. And it's I think it's kind of their DK-ish weight, 250 meters per 100 grams. And what I would like to make with this is the Grow shawl and the Grow hat by Fiber Tales. I will put pictures of both here. So my husband gifted me this yarn for our anniversary in November. He got me 5 skeins because I originally bought it to make a jumper. I don't think I want to make a jumper out of this one anymore. And I thought that it would actually be really fitting because it's merino and it's not itchy and it's incredibly bouncy and squishy, to make the Grow shawl by Fiber Tales. And then I think the shawl she recommends like 300 grams, a bit more than 300. I think she said she used 300 grams of yarn, but and so just to be safe, it'd be nice to have an extra skein. And I have 5 skeins of that. So I thought with 5 skeins, I can easily, in like 3, maybe 3.5, make the shawl. And then Fiber Tales just released a Grow hat pattern, which looks amazing, and which I think would use only 1 skein. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna make the hat to match, because it will look very cute. And then I think I might have, depending on how much I have left, I'll see what I make. If I don't have very much left, maybe I'll make a pom-pom for the hat. If I have a bit left, maybe I'll make mittens. I don't know, we'll see. But this is the plan, yeah. Make a nice silver gray Grow shawl, and then the Grow hat to match. So, yep. Moving on. So let's continue with the hats, I guess. I just have one more hat and then another accessory. Well, I have 1 hat, 1 headband, and one hat, 1 headband, and 1 pair of mittens, and that is gonna be it after that. We're not doing too bad on time, actually. So speaking of hats, so this is gonna be the one gift that I told you I knew I was gonna knit this year. And it's gonna be from my husband, and it's gonna be the firewood cap from the Salt and Timber book that I just showed you a minute ago. So let me find the pattern for you so I can show you a picture. Firewood cap, page 20. And I think I need to put something to hide the pattern. Yeah. And this is what it looks like. I think you can see quite well. It's a ribbed hat, but then on the brim it has a little wavy bit. And I think it calls for Aran weight yarn, and it looks really nice. It looks, oh, look at the pictures in this book. The pictures are stunning. And this is what the hat looks when it's not being worn. I mean, like, I want to go there. I just want to go there. And I am going to knit it for him out of leftover yarn from his single malt sweater that I made him for Christmas. I showed it briefly in my last episode, my roundup of what I did in 2022. I will talk about it more in my next podcast episode. I know some of you asked if I could go into more detail. I will do that. It's planned for the next podcast episode. Yeah. And so the yarn that I'm going to use is the leftover yarn. It is that purple yarn that I used. It's really beautiful. It's got some bits of pink, bits of blue in it as well. And this is yarn by J.C. Rennie, or Knit Rennie, which is a mill in, oh, I've got fluff, which is a mill in the Highlands in Scotland. And this is what I had left. So I used a big cone for the sweater, and then I just caked up the rest that I had on the cone, just so I don't know, it's just easier to store for me. So yeah, I don't know exactly how much I have, but I have more than enough to make a hat. And so yeah, just for reference, the wool is their chunky lamb's wool, which is an Aran weight. They call it chunky, but it's really an Aran weight, and in the shade blueberry. And this is what it looks like. So yeah, this is the hat, another hat that I plan to make. And as a gift, I think I might make it in late May or something, because his birthday is in early June. So yeah, let me just check something, because I think we're really losing the light, and I hope it's okay. It's getting really dark outside just because it's Scotland and it's early. It gets dark early. So I'm gonna go quickly through the other projects. The last, or like second to last one, is gonna be a headband for me. Hold on, I'm gonna change the settings and come back. All right, I'm back. I just turned on the light. It doesn't look very good, but it's okay. There's only a couple of things that I would like to show you, and it's honestly getting, it's 3:30 and it's getting really, really dark already. So anyway, moving on. The next project, like I was saying, is a headband that I would like to make for myself. The pattern is the Fur or Foyer headband by Norch Trick, and this is the yarn that I would like to use for it. I'll put a picture of the pattern here, and it's yarn by Zakami yarn, and it's this beautiful sort of gold camel. You can see it here. It's not as yellow obviously because I have the light on now, but yeah, it is beautiful. It's one that I got last year. They used to do a yarn and tea box, a monthly box that I was subscribed to. So I don't think it's a colorway that you can find anymore on their website, unfortunately. And it is extremely soft because it is 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. It's a fingering weight, and so 100 grams is 400 meters, and it is absolutely stunning. And this is always the project that I saw for this yarn, so I'm excited to knit it sometime this year, hopefully this winter, so I can still wear it this year, but if not, I'll just wear it whenever I feel like it, and then I'll have it for next winter, which is also fine. So yeah, second to last, the headband. I feel like those are also nice small projects that I can take with me, because scarves and shawls are fine up to a point, sweaters are fine up to a point, but then you always reach a point where it's not really that easy to carry around. And anyway, last project before it gets completely dark is a pair of mittens that I've already balled it up, so I put it in a project bag. This is one of my bags that I make, and it is called the Heart of the Forest Mittens by Sophia of California. She has a podcast as well. I'll put a picture here. It is color work. I don't think I've ever done color work, so I'm really excited to learn. And I'm thinking maybe if I knit that now, I will fall in love with color work, and all the rest of all the plants that I just showed you are just going to be thrown out the window and I will be knitting all colorwork stuff this year. Who knows? And the yarn that I would like to use are these 3 colors. So we've got a white, a light gray, and a dark gray. This is yarn from Jamieson and Smith. It's really good yarn for colorwork. It looms quite well, it sticks together, so it makes your pattern, your design look really nice. And I bought those in little 25-gram balls because that's usually how Jamieson and Smith yarn comes as. It's just really like 25 grams, and then you can buy a whole cone if you want. And so I think this is, let me check the color. They have numbers for their colors, but this is 203 light gray, 54 gray, and then 1 optic white. It's just white. It blows out a lot on camera, but it's just white. And so yeah, I think what I'm going to make is that, let me think now that I don't have the pattern. I don't remember which order she used, which color she used for what, but basically the background is going to be white, the little trees are going to be light gray, and then the cuff and the top of the fingers is going to be dark gray, I think. And I'm really excited to try that because I haven't really done colorwork before, but I think it will be nice and it will be fun, and I can't wait. So yeah, I'm sorry about the light and the things getting really dark towards the end. I hope you don't mind that too much. I can't wait for summer when it doesn't get dark until 11 at night. And yeah, that is all the projects that I have and that I wanted to show you, all my plans for 2023. Like I said, no pressure. I'm really happy with the plans that I've made so far. I'm really looking forward to knitting all of this, and if I change my mind at some point, that is also perfectly fine. Thank you very much for watching. I would love to hear what your plans for 2023 are, what projects you are most excited to be working on. So please do tell me. Leave a comment below and let me know what it is that you would like to knit or that you're looking forward to knit on, what pattern, what yarn you're looking forward to using. And I will very much enjoy reading that. Until then, I will wish you a very good rest of your day. Once again, a very happy 2023. And I will talk to you in my next podcast episode, which will be a regular podcast episode. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!